Two boys are walking through a deep, isolated forest. The first boy is widely considered a genius. Top of his class, flawless test scores, a resume full of academic credentials. The second boy is thoroughly unremarkable on paper, barely skating by with average grades, but sharp when it comes to navigating his daily life. Without warning, a massive grizzly bear charges directly at them. The first boy stays perfectly calm. Applying the distance equals rate times time formula, he flawlessly calculates that the bear will overtake them in exactly 17.3 seconds. Meanwhile, the second boy sits down, takes off his heavy hiking boots, and starts lacing up a pair of running shoes. The genius looks at him and says, "You're crazy. You can't outrun a grizzly bear." The second boy replies, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you." The genius becomes lunch. The second boy jogs to safety. Having an immaculate grasp of mathematics means absolutely nothing if you don't realize you're standing in a situation that requires a pair of sneakers. From kindergarten through college, we largely measure a person's value through multiple choice questions and strictly controlled examinations. We treat those academic markers as the definitive proof of someone's future potential. Consider Marilyn Vos-Savant, famously listed for holding a world record IQ. You might expect a list of groundbreaking academic discoveries attached to her name. Instead, her success has largely come from writing popular magazine columns and successfully marketing her title of having a high IQ. Standardized tests measure how well you handle a piece of paper in a silent room. They completely fail to account for the actual abilities required to navigate a chaotic, unpredictable life. Psychologist Robert Sternberg recognized this massive gap between textbook logic and real-world survival. He proposed a completely different framework: successful intelligence. This text outlines the core of Sternberg's theory. Notice points 1 and 2. Intelligence isn't a static score. It is an integrated set of abilities used to attain personal success, and that success is entirely dictated by your specific sociocultural context. Sternberg learned this firsthand. During a lecture in Puerto Rico, he faced a room full of professors who wouldn't stop talking. He tried standard American classroom management tactics, lowering his voice, politely asking for quiet. The room ignored him completely. Then, a local woman stood up and spoke rapidly in Spanish. She told the crowd they were conveying a bad impression and bringing shame to the university. The room went dead silent. She bypassed academic logic and appealed directly to a local shame culture. A tactic that is brilliant in a Midwestern university can be a complete failure in a Caribbean one. You cannot be intelligent in a vacuum. You have to read the room. Sternberg breaks this down into a triarchy, 3 distinct abilities working together. Take Mrs. Quinn, a first-grade reading teacher forced to use a school curriculum that is actively failing half her students. First, she uses analytical intelligence. She evaluates the district's strict whole-language reading program, compares it to phonics, and isolates exactly where the current system falls short. Next comes practical application. Mrs. Quinn recognizes her own technical limitations as an educator, so she leans on the school's teaching manual to cover her blind spots and keep the administration happy. Finally, knowing her students get bored easily, she taps into her creative intelligence. She invents original melodies and sets her phonics lessons to music. True problem-solving requires all 3. It is the ability to shift seamlessly from diagnosing a flawed system to using practical tools to inventing something entirely new. When you inevitably find yourself in an environment that clashes with your goals, this framework gives you 3 distinct ways to respond. You can adapt, modifying your own behavior to survive within the established rules. Or you can try to shape the environment, risking pushback to force the room to accommodate your vision. If neither of those work, you select. You pack up and find an entirely new environment where your specific strengths actually matter. Surviving a bad situation isn't enough. You have to recognize when you possess the leverage to rewrite the rules, and when you have the agency to simply walk out the door. Which brings us back to the surviving boy in the woods. After watching his friend die, he developed a severe phobia of forests. But using his practical street smarts, he taught himself self-hypnosis, conquered his fear, and returned to the trees. He's feeling completely at peace with nature, right up until that exact same starving grizzly bear bursts out of the brush. With no friend to outrun, his practical escape option is gone. Out of ideas, he drops to his knees and prays that the ferocious animal suddenly finds religion. The bear stops. It drops to its haunches, folds its paws, and prays, "I thank thee, O pagan gods, for the meal I am about to receive." Then it eats him. His practical cleverness couldn't save him because he lacked the analytical foresight to specify which religion the bear should adopt. We spend decades debating book smarts versus street smarts, but relying purely on academic theory leaves you paralyzed in a crisis, and relying strictly on street smarts leaves you vulnerable to the details you failed to analyze. Stop asking yourself how smart you are based on a standardized score. The real question is how you balance your analysis, your creativity, and your practical skills to maneuver through whatever comes charging out of the woods next.